Good evening, dignitaries. First of all, thank you so much for giving this chance to a student like me. I am just a second year student of cognitive sciences from the Albag Educational Institute, Agra. I have tried to put on some literature survey with my interest subject, that is REM dreaming or rapid eye movement dreaming, or it is also called paradoxical sleep because it is considered to have dreaming into it. So this model that I have tried to propose is called anomalous memory consolidation model of REM dreaming. To start with, a vague definition of dreams is that they are internally produced pseudo visualizations that, according to Freud, allow us to sort through unresolved repressed wishes, which I really don't support. So Freud also exclaimed that daytime experiences trigger emergence of related memories which determine dream content. But sometimes psychology doesn't align with physiology, and somehow this presentation of mine is supporting that notion. So the questions I'm raising through this talk here is the first one is a statement that is being proposed by threat simulation theory of dreaming, which says that dream content is not random or disorganized, but is a simulation of the perceptual world. And that is what I support. But unfortunately, this theory wasn't able to prove that. So I come with the notion that to prove this theory is to prove that dreaming about old and new memories are a result of different brain mechanisms and not something very random or disorganized. To start with, let's understand the basic REM or rapid eye movement characteristics, which is this particular diagram from a review, Cognitive Neurosciences of Dreaming by Hobson, expresses the idea that whatever information is acquired during wake state is further on integrated during REM state of sleep. Also, these EEG recordings from the REM state shows high frequency waves, which expresses a lot of cognition. That means you are thinking, you're doing something. But how? Another main observation from this particular diagram is sudden appearance of PGO waves in lateral geniculate nucleus, which is beloved to sleep researchers. They have assigned different various roles to these particular waves coming from the pontogeniculo-occipital system. And this particular wave has a lot of roles in sleep generation, also dream generation. The most important thing that I understand to note here is cholinergic activation, which is sudden elevation in cholinergic levels or acetylcholine levels in REM on neurons during REM state. So this all comes about to prove that no external sensory stimulation is experienced or observed during REM dreaming. Then what is it? So many theories of why do we sleep have come into picture, but the most important one is memory consolidation, which is widely accepted, which happens through these two processes, which we understand as synaptic consolidation and systems consolidation. Synaptic consolidation is simply the consolidation or long-term potentiation of existing short-term memories or sensory information that has been taken up by the association cortex in the brain and consolidating it into long-term memory in the hippocampus. This all happens by long-term potentiation or a synaptic plasticity process, which is very nicely understood by the neuroscientists here. So the cells that wire together uh, with prolonged firing, these cells become very established and the memories become very strong. The next process is systems consolidation, in which this hippocampus dependent memories, which were just consolidated by this LTP function, become independent of the hippocampus over a period of weeks to years by further processing or further synaptic processing occurs on a much larger scale to to uh, make this memory, which was initially hippocampus independent, independent of it, and move back and allow it to move back to the neocortex, where it actually stores itself as narrative memory, which is the everyday memory. So basically, this is the most important diagram of the whole talk, uh, there is where there is a representation of dialogue between hippocampus and neocortex for synaptic plasticity purposes during NREM stage of sleep. Now, this is happening uh, just about just now. I told you about the systems consolidation, and now this is what happening here. But suddenly, what was happening right about here was normal memory consolidation. But now, further on to it, anomalous memory consolidation would come into picture. And how will I'll be defining that? So just when the REM stage or rapid eye movement stage comes into picture, this whole information package or transfer breaks down, and the reverse of it happens. So this is very clearly supported by the notion that changing levels of acetylcholine favor this pattern of state-dependent information flow by augmenting feed-forward or from cortical to hippocampal transmission circuits in the hippocampal formation and blocking feedback or from hippocampus to neocortex, everything. So this information that is now available to the neocortex is made available to the dreaming brain. This is what forms the old memories to come into the dreams. And that is how I defy what Freud said. Freud said that the dream content or the daytime experiences in the dream trigger the old memories or different memories related to that particular incidents to come about to in our dreams, which is not true according to this model. Another question that I raise is related to activation synthesis hypothesis, which states that dreams are actively generated by the brainstem but passively synthesized by the forebrain. So my model supports brainstem neocortical relationship in dream content. So this is somehow very uh, proclaimed by activation synthesis model that pontine brainstem is the most important part in activating REM sleep and REM dreams. But another model of mesocortical mesolimbic dopamine system has observed that there is a role of forebrain regions in the dreams. Now, how is expressed in this particular activity, where drugs that block activity in this circuit inhibit excessive, unusually frequent, and vivid dreaming. So this clearly expresses that there is a role of forebrain regions in dreaming, which I just explained in the previous slides. So this is one of my datas that I have taken from this dream device. This is a dry EEG, which has these particular electrodes or channels. And since there is some very cognitive activity in frontal regions or these frontal channels, I can conclude or somehow support my notion that yes, there is an activation. Although I have not worked much on this particular task or to prove my whole hypothesis or model, because I am just into all this from last 2 years, and I am just a second year student. So I would just be highly obliged if the learned audience and learned guests would motivate me and encourage me further on the questions regarding this particular idea and this field. Also, I would like to summarize this whole talk and presentation through these two diagrams in which I show normal memory consolidation in comparison to anomalous memory consolidation, wherein during NREM, normal processes like system consolidation and synaptic consolidation and systems consolidation took place. But then during REM stage, when suddenly REM came into picture, as we saw in that particular diagram, these memories, procedural memories, converted into long-term memories stored in the hippocampus, was suddenly, I mean, they were already being transferred to the neocortex anyhow. But this elevation of acetylcholine could signify the activation of sudden activation of neocortex, which means that the information that was actually being passed to the neocortex for consolidation purpose or storage purpose was actually activated and made available to the dreaming part of the brain, which lies somewhere here. So I refer HI to hippocampus independent memories, which were the LTMs that were long-term memories that were passed on from the hippocampus to the neocortex during NREM stage. Yes, yes, sir. Just to say. So this is all